All right, let's just dive right in. We all think we know how Google makes its money, right? But its parent company, Alphabet, is a whole other beast. Forget just the ads and the AI buzzwords for a second. The picture in 2025 is, well, it's way more complex and honestly a lot more fascinating than you probably think. We're going to peel back the layers of this tech onion. Okay, first things first, let's just try to wrap our heads around the scale here. In just the third quarter of 2025, Alphabet didn't just have a good quarter, they had their first ever $100 billion quarter. That's $102.3 billion in 3 months. I mean, to put that in perspective, that's more than the entire annual GDP of a lot of countries. Just staggering. So a number that big, it obviously begs the question, right? When a company is that massive, where is all that value actually coming from? Is it still just those little ads you see at the top of a search page? Well, the answer used to be pretty simple. Not anymore. It's gotten way more complex. So to really get Alphabet, you have to start at the beginning, at its core. And that is, of course, the advertising engine. This is the first layer of the onion, the part of the business we all feel like we know. But you'll see that even here, things are a lot more sophisticated and changing faster than ever. Okay, this chart right here, this is basically the company's financial DNA. And yeah, no surprise, Google search is still the undisputed king, pulling in more than half of all the revenue. But look closer. You can't ignore the other players on the field. YouTube ads, Google Cloud, subscriptions, these aren't side hustles. Each one is a massive multi-billion-dollar business in its own right. So how does all that ad money actually work? Well, it really comes down to this key idea, pull versus push advertising. Think about it this way. Search ads are pull. You're actively searching, right? You type plumber near me into Google. You have a need, and the ad that pops up is pulling you in by answering that existing demand. But then you have display ads, the banners you see on websites all over the internet. That's push. They're pushing an idea into your head, creating demand you didn't even know you had. And Google, they are absolute masters at playing both sides of that. And this is how they handle all that pull advertising. Every single time you search for something, a lightning-fast auction happens behind the scenes. But here's the cool part. It's not just about who's willing to pay the most. Google has this thing called ad rank. They figure it out by multiplying the advertiser's bid by something called a quality score. And that score is all about how relevant and useful your ad is. So what does that mean? It means a better, more helpful ad can actually win a top spot without being the highest bidder. Pretty smart. Okay, so that's the classic model. But let's look at how things are evolving, because the single biggest change to that core ad business is happening right now. We're talking about a fundamental shift, and it's all being driven by AI. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some new feature they tacked on. It's a complete reinvention from the ground up. And the centerpiece of this whole shift is something called AI overviews. You've definitely seen these by now. Instead of just getting that classic list of 10 blue links, Google now gives you this AI-generated summary right at the very top. And I mean this without any exaggeration. This is the biggest change to how Google search works since it was created. But this creates a really interesting problem, something people are starting to call the great decoupling. I mean, think about it. If the AI just gives you the answer right there on the page, why would you bother clicking on any of the links below it? And the data backs this up. Websites that appear underneath one of these AI overviews, they can see their traffic from that search drop by almost 35%. So here's the billion-dollar question. If fewer people are clicking, how on earth does Google protect its ad business? Well, the answer, maybe unsurprisingly, is even more AI. Google's strategy is basically to make the odd spots that are left smarter and way more valuable. They're pushing advertisers towards these fully automated campaigns like Performance Max, where you basically just let Google's AI find the best customers for you across all of its properties. And they've rolled out tools like High Value Mode, where the AI actually predicts which customers are going to be the most profitable and then automatically bids more to get them. It's about quality over quantity. Okay, so AI is totally transforming the ad engine. We've got that. But that is not the only story here. Let's peel back the next layer of the onion, because this is where we find the parts of Alphabet that are growing even faster than ads and have pretty much nothing to do with them. Just take a look at these growth numbers from Q3 2025. The main Google Services part of the business, ads, subscriptions, all that stuff, it grew by a very healthy 14%. That's great. But then you look at Google Cloud, it grew by a staggering 34%. This is the engine room of the company, the part that sells to big businesses, and it is absolutely on fire. And we're not talking about one-off sales here. By late 2025, Google Cloud had a revenue backlog of $155 billion. What that means is companies have already signed long-term contracts for that amount. That's money that's already locked in for the future. It gives them this incredible stability and really just shows you how deeply Google's infrastructure is getting woven into the fabric of the global economy. And then, on top of all that, you've got the subscription business, which is just exploding. Over 300 million people are now paying Alphabet directly, every single month, for things like YouTube Premium to get rid of ads or Google One for more storage. Every single one of those subscriptions is a predictable, recurring stream of cash that has nothing to do with advertising. All right, time to peel back one more layer. This is where things get really interesting. We're talking about the other bets, the famous moonshots. For years, everybody kind of looked at these as just expensive science projects, burning cash. But in 2025, something changed. Some of them started to look like actual, real businesses. There's that old saying that the future is built in the lab, but it's proven on the streets. And man, that could not be a more perfect description for what's happened with Waymo, Alphabet's self-driving car company. I mean, this thing spent more than a decade as a research project, hidden away. But now, it's out there. It's a real-world service. And this is the key point right here. Waymo isn't just a cool demo anymore. It is serving 450,000 paid rides every single week. This is the playbook for all those other bets coming to life. You take these long-term, super high-risk projects, and you finally graduate them from the lab into the real world. Waymo is the star pupil for sure, but it's a sign of a future where Alphabet isn't just a software company, but a major player in transportation and healthcare with Verily and who knows what else. So let's put this all together. We've peeled back the layers, right? We have an ad business that's being completely transformed by AI, a cloud platform that's just booming, and these moonshot projects that are finally becoming real businesses. When you stack all that up, you get to the very center of the onion. You get to what Alphabet truly is today. And what is that? It's become what you could call an AI utility. Now just think about that term for a second. A utility. Just like the electric company provides the power that runs your home, Alphabet is now providing the foundational infrastructure that runs the world's intelligence. They're building the whole stack, from their own custom AI chips and models all the way up to the global cloud platforms that basically every other company is now using to build their own AI future. And let me tell you, becoming a utility of this scale is not cheap, not even close. The company expects to spend up to $93 billion just on capital expenditures in 2025 alone. That is an almost unimaginable amount of money, and it's all going into building the physical stuff, the data centers, the servers, the undersea cables, the actual foundation for this new AI-driven world. Which brings us to one last, really big question. As one company cements its role as the fundamental utility for intelligence, literally the intelligence layer for the entire economy, what does that mean for all of us? It's an incredibly powerful place to be, effectively building the very roads that the next generation of technology will have to travel.